But if you were over the age of 22, certainly, did you take a day off work? Did you take a vacation day for this? And I don't know. It's an odd impulse that we've got. That's got to be unique to Western affluent society. Like you said, you couldn't create this in Afghanistan. Well, with food you could.
I think about this a lot, this sort of thing a lot. The changes in society over the last 100 years, and, sometimes I'll break it down a little more.
Airplanes!
Well, all right, yes. There's one, for instance. This is going to take quite a while if you keep computers. Yes. Motor cars. But anyway, and some break it down more recently, last 30 years, whatever. And then I ask myself, how many of those changes are primarily caused by marketing campaigns, by, the classic Madison Avenue? But of course now the advertising industry is everywhere, including right here. We're part of it. How many of those societal changes have been caused by people who profit from your decisions changing what your decisions are? How many fundamental changes in the way Americans live their lives have come through that causation?
I want to hear some examples when we come back. Can you give me some examples?
There are many.
Well, then give me some when we come back.
Maybe.
1-866-331-TALK, 1-866-331-TALK, because that's interesting. There's something weird. I don't know. I looked at that line and I thought, this can't be healthy on a variety of levels. It's going to come back to haunt us someday.
Tell you what, if I was recruiting for a cult, I'd show up at one of those lines, because those people have empty souls. Hungry for something.
Our phone number, 1-866-331-TALK. You are listening to The Armstrong and Getty Show. So you're saying...
Yes?
How many of the major changes that have happened in society in the last generation or so were driven by advertising geniuses?
Well, it's more...
We got started on this with the incredible lines for the iPhone. You had to see one in person to appreciate it and think, wow, that's a lot of people standing in line all day long to get a slightly different phone.
It's funny. This is so multi-layered, and it's such an octopus, such a philosophical octopus, a philosoctopus, that it's difficult to wrestle down the time we've got left. But here's the story. First of all, capitalism, the United States of America specifically, lifts 20% of its poor people out of poverty every decade, which is so much better than any system ever in the history of everything that there isn't any point in comparing them.
Well, most systems don't attempt to lift anybody out of poverty.
Or they just reduce everybody to it. Anybody who thinks capitalism is not good for poor people is an idiot, or an ideologue, or uninformed, or an uninformed ideological idiot. Having said that, you remember back when, when I was a youngster, it was still kind of...
Michael. There we go.
It was still kind of popular and wry to talk about keeping up with the Joneses, which was, I believe, a phrase that came to be in, I don't know, late 50s, early 60s.
And it was a derogatory term.
It was the idea of trying to constantly compare yourself materially with your neighbors, especially in terms of outward appearance. Cars, the house, etc. The bird bath in the front yard, what have you. And
bird bath.
Bigger, fancier bird bath. I was trying to picture a suburban home in 1961. First thing popped into my head. A bigger aerial on your...
Honey, did you see the Joneses bird bath?
Look at the ornate design of their bird bath. Look at ours. It's an embarrassment. Children can barely show their faces.
That's funny. We had a bird bath when I was a kid.
Heck yeah.
How come nobody has bird baths anymore?
I had one in my old place. I got to get one for my new place. Yeah. So anyway, but the role of what do I have in day-to-day activity and happiness, etc. How we spend our time is just, it's changed a great deal in the last half century. I mean, you'd live modestly, you'd spend all your time hanging out with your friends. Talking, drinking, sitting around, whatever, as opposed to chasing stuff and, Obviously the whole video game thing and all the cars and boats, and we've got so much stuff. The amount of time we spend pursuing stuff, and the fact that we committed a near suicidal overheating of the economy and overlooked fraud on a mind-boggling scale because we're all getting so much stuff. I think as a society, and it's probably, one of those symptoms of a dying empire, we've just completely got away from the human aspect of being human, and now we're just greedy consumers. But I don't know. What do I know? I got new golf clubs and a big house. So what am I over here? I think about it.
But I don't think there's...
And then I torture myself at night.
I don't... Maybe somebody older than me could tell me, but I can't imagine any product in my dad's generation that would have caused people to stand in line all day long for it. I just don't think such a thing existed.
You said it. A polio shot.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know.
But how could you go in a generation from you can't even imagine something that would cause a line like that? What would it be? Nothing. To there's all kinds of stuff. I can come up with a ton of stuff. New vampire movie, new iPhone, new iPad, there's all kinds of stuff.
Well, now people wait in line for movies and hula hoops, and I mean, it's not like there was no foolishness.
No, but I'm just trying to think. Well, my dad would have never stood in line for anything all day long that you could get a week later.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't have made sense.
Gotta have it now. Well, I tell you what, one of our old boss Ken's greatest quotes was, "We live in a world where people pace back and forth in front of the microwave," which is a pretty good description of how impatient we are. But you're a product of your environment, as I'm always saying. You change the environment, you can change the behavior of the organism, the beast. Well, we're beasts that get our food, as it were, our little piece of cheese from the maze or whatever. Perhaps we're in some sort of monkey experiment where we've got to paw a button. The point is, we get our reward immediately.
I'll say this.
So we become that beast.
I'll say this with full conviction, and I do believe this.
Yes.
So you stood in line for the iPhone.
Yes.
Think for yourself whether or not you needed to. I don't think you needed it that day. I think you stood in line. I don't understand that. But you're going to get the new iPhone. I'm probably going to get the new iPhone at some point. But think to yourself whether you got it because there's some stuff it does that you really, really like, or do you feel a little bit superior to other people that don't have it? If you do, I think that's something to fight. That's just wrong.
Yes.
That's just bad.
Well, it's hollow and you're lying to yourself, and you might as well be dead. You might as well kill yourself if you're living that crappy, hollow existence.
There's nothing positive about feeling superior to somebody else because you have a different phone that they don't have. I mean, that's just not healthy. And I do it. I do it all the time. So I'm preaching to myself, but it's sick.
We're counseling America this morning.
Counseling myself, because I can only change myself. I can't change America.
You can't?
I can only change myself.
You set fire to your neighbor's house, you've changed his house. Don't quit so easy.
But you know what the other flip side of that, what drives some of that is you feel a little bit worse than other people that have the nice stuff. So you got the nice thing, the new thing, the exclusive thing, or whatever. You've seen the movie they haven't seen. You feel a little superior. Right. But how about the flip side of it? Do you feel a little less because their car's a little cooler or they got the newer phone? That's not healthy either.
Try to fight it all the time.
Yeah, because that's not healthy either.
Or you can live like you do and get the nice stuff and then beat the hell out of yourself for it.
So, the worst of both worlds.
Exactly.